This is lesson 6.7 for course 2. Get out your notebooks and get ready to take notes. Today we're going to talk about finding sales tax, commission, and tipping. All three things that you use in everyday life when you go out to eat, when you go and buy things, or if you have a sales job. So in Michigan, the sales tax is 6%. So that means that for every dollar that you spend, you're going to pay 6 cents. So when you find your sales tax, you're going to take the tax rate, which is your percentage, and you're going to change it to a decimal and multiply it by the purchase price. So for example, let's say I go to the store and I buy a shirt that is $15. And I want to know what the sales tax is. So in Michigan, I'm going to multiply it by 6%. Well, we have to change that percentage to a decimal. So it'd be 15 times. And when we change a percent to a decimal, we move the decimal 2 places, which means it's 0.06. So 15 times 0.06, use your calculator for that, is 90 cents. 0.9, which is 90 cents. Now to find your total cost, you're going to take the purchase price, which is $15. You're going to add to it your sales tax, which is 90 cents. So the total bill is going to be
Mr. Matt, could you please unlock
$15.90.
Mrs. Denton's classroom for Mr. Matt? Could you please unlock Mrs. Denton's classroom? Thank you.
Sorry for that interruption. This is the sales tax, the 90 cents. This here is the total cost of your purchase. So let's look at this example. I want you to try this on your own. Find the total cost for a purchase of $185 if the sales tax rate is 5.5%. So we're not going to use the 6% in Michigan. So pause the video and try this problem on your own. Okay, so we want to find the sales tax. So we're going to have 185, and we're going to multiply that by 5.5% as a decimal. So we have to move that 2 places, put the 0 here. So it's 0.055. So on your calculator, 185 times 0.055 is $10. It ends up being 10.175, but we want to round to the nearest cent. So it's $10, and 5 tells us to round the 7 up to an 8. So it's $10.18. This here is the tax. So to find your total cost, you're going to take your sale price, which is $185, and you're going to add to it your tax, which is $10.18, and your total is $195.18. That is the cost for a purchase of $185. The next thing we're going to talk about is commission. Commission is a percent of the amount of your sales. So in some stores, maybe like Macy's or JCPenney, if you help someone with buying something, then you may get a percent of the amount of their purchase. Another place this happens is when you sell cars. Car salesmen get commissions, and then also people who sell houses. So commission is very similar to finding the tax on an item. You're going to take your commission rate, which is always going to be a percent, and then multiply it by your amount of money in sales, which is going to be a dollar amount. Then to get your total earnings, you take your sales and add it to your commission. So let's look at an example. Find the commission on a $3,200 sale with a commission rate of 6%. So we're going to do number 3. So we have a $3,200 sale, and the commission rate is 6%. So that means you're gonna get 6% of your sales. So we need to change that into a decimal. So it's 0.06. So we take 3,200 and multiply it by 0.06, and you would make, if you sold that much, you would make $192 in commission. Now they just ask us in the question to find the commission. We don't want to know what the commission plus the what the sale was. So you would make $192 in commission. So this is the way that a lot of salesmen or saleswomen get their salary. You earn a weekly salary of $800. Okay, so you get $800 no matter what, if you sold something or not. Plus, you get a commission of 3.5% on all your sales. So you want to find your earnings for a week if you sold $1,400 worth of merchandise. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to find out what is the commission that you're going to make. So your commission is equal to the amount of your sales, which is in the green box, $1,400, multiplied by your commission rate, which is 0.35%, but as a decimal, when we move the decimal point 2 places to the left, it's 0.035. So we take 1,400 times 0.035, and we get $49. So your commission that you make just for selling that stuff, you get $49. So remember, you don't just earn the $49, you also get your $800. So your salary, or the amount that you're going to get for the week, is $800 plus your commission, which we just calculated to be $49. So 800 plus 49 is $849. That would be your pay for the week. So you can see the higher your sales are, the more your pay is going to be when you're making a commission. So that motivates people to want to sell more. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is a tip. And any of you who have gone out to eat before know that your parents usually leave a tip. So a tip is a percent of a bill that is given to someone who provides a service, like a waiter or a waitress. So a common tip that is left is 15%. Another place that you might leave a tip is if you bring your dog to the groomers, or when you get your own haircut, or if you get your nails done. So what you're going to do is you're going to round the bill to the nearest dollar, find 10%, and when you find 10%, you just move the decimal point 1 place to the left, and then you're going to find 5% by taking that half of result 2, and then you're going to add the amounts together. So, for example, I like to make it pretty easy, so when I'm sitting in a restaurant, I don't have to get out my calculator. So I would round $58.20 to, I would round it to the nearest $10, $60. And if I want to leave 15%, I know that 10% of 60 is just moving the decimal 1 place over. So 10% tip would be $6. Now, if I want to leave a 15% tip, I know that 10% plus 5% would equal 15%. So if I take 5% or half, because 5% is half of 10%, if I take half of 6, a 5% tip is $3. So in my head I could add that together real quick and know that I would leave a $9 tip for my waiter. That's an estimate. So if we look at this total here, 60, why don't you try this on your own and see what you get for a 15% tip, and then when you're ready, come back and we'll go over it. So here we go. We go to the restaurant, $61.80. I'm going to round my bill to $60 because that's the closest $10. So I move the decimal point over for 10%, one place, which means I'm going to leave a $6 tip. This is going to be the same as the last one. And then 5% tip would be half. So my tip would be $9. And that's an easy way to do to calculate the tip if you want to just do that right in your head. So let's look at this. Mr. Bustrom takes his family to Chili's for dinner. The bill is $34.65, and he decides to leave a 15% tip. I want you to try to estimate, or I want you to estimate how much he should leave for a tip for his dinner. Pause the video and try it out. Okay, so here's Mr. Bustrom's bill. We will round that to, we'll just round it up to $40. So 10% means we're going to just move the decimal point one place over. So that would be $4. Half of $4, which would be 5%, is $2. So we add those two together, and Mr. Bustrom should leave approximately about $6 for his tip. That's it for today. Bring any questions that you have to class tomorrow. Thanks. Have a good night.